Welcome to Focus on Why, the podcast where reflection sparks action. I'm Amy Rowlinson, and together we'll explore compelling stories, profound insights, and transformative experiences from inspiring guests worldwide. Feeling lost or unfulfilled? Searching for clarity, purpose, or meaning in your work and life? This podcast invites you on a journey of self-discovery to align your work with your values, shape your future with intention, and create a purposeful way of life. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we begin, have you read my new book yet? Focus on Why, Create a Purposeful Way of Life is co-authored with my late grandfather, George Fleming Kerr, and weaves in poignant journal entries detailing his experiences and insights of the 5 years he spent in captivity during World War II. Honest and heartfelt, this uplifting guide acts as your companion for life. Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. Check the show notes for links to get your copy today. Hello and welcome to episode 465. This is the 75th Reflections with Action solo episode from me, Amy Rowlinson. How could it be time for another one of these solo episodes? My goodness, time is absolutely flying right now. However, I can genuinely say that I am loving every second. I'm just days away now from my final session with the first cohort of the Meaningful Success Mastermind, and I will share their full testimonials in my next Reflections episode. However, I just want to say it has gone better than I could have ever expected. I can hand on heart say that it is an absolute privilege to do the work I do. Focusing on purpose gives me the opportunity to see right into the heart and soul of people, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. However, seeing the transformation in people when they step fully into their purpose and embrace just what's possible with a focus on why means more than anything to me. Someone commented the other day that I'm an overachiever and that I know all the numbers and dates of things. Well, it's true, I do, because I find it comforting to measure my own milestones. I find it helps me recognize where I'm spending my time and also notice all the wins on my journey, especially when they seem to be those smaller actions that might not make a difference, but they do as they compound. And as to that overachiever comment, initially I thought it was a slight. And in the past, it might have been true because of the high levels of stress, lack of balance across other areas of my life, which led to experience burnout. But now I recognise that being called an overachiever for this time meant it was a compliment because I do surpass expectations which lead to meaningful success because I've consciously designed that to be the way I live my life. It is my way of life. I fill my days with what matters and naturally with what I love doing. Fulfilment and happiness ensue as a result of all my purposeful reflection with action. To give you an indication of what my diary is filled with, this is what I've focused on since my last solo episode just under 5 weeks ago. I've held 10 pre-calls with future podcast guests and booked them into the schedule. Attended 6 networking events, of which 3 were professional speaking association meetings. Recorded 8 episodes, including this one, coached 4 clients on a one-to-one basis, hosted 5 Meaningful Success Mastermind sessions, met up with 10 friends for lunches and dinners in London, attended the 2-day One of Many annual conference where I also invited 4 guests to join me, ran 3 park runs, 2 elliptical sessions, walked the dog 33 times, watched 6 cricket matches, manned the cricket club bar for an evening with my husband John, went out for a lovely dinner to a fancy restaurant with John, written and shared too many to count social media posts and videos, had 2 accountability sessions with my bestie Joe Lightfoot. We've now had 106 since we started right back in lockdown. Held 3 new client discovery calls, attended 6 mastermind sessions across the 3 separate groups I'm a member of, one of them which has been running since 2020, delivered 4 one-to-one podcast mentoring sessions, drove up to Loughborough with John to surprise our son Eddie to celebrate his 20th birthday, worked with my 2 VAs to streamline business and improve efficiency across 4 sessions, celebrated 600 days sober, I'm now 633 days, written and delivered 4 different talks on purpose and living legacy, signed way too many to count forms because we are selling our house, selling an investment property and we're buying a new house, cleared out all the rooms and outbuildings in the garden, packed 72 boxes with a lot more to go, but have done 6 charity shop runs, celebrated 80 years since VE Day, sent out 5 email newsletters and published 5 blogs, met up with old school mums for our book club, which we set up back in September 2007, had a book buddies call with Charlotte Jones, which we've had monthly since September 2022. A new client has booked me to deliver a series of purpose workshops, and I have another meeting to discuss another series of workshops. Helped Holly proofread her dissertation and apply for a job. And that's probably not even everything, but it's enough of an indication to share how much is possible to achieve in a month without it being a burden, because I love what I do. And that's what this episode is all about, reflection with action. And first up is one of the most heartfelt episodes yet, because episode 460, Purpose Over Pace, was with my daughter, Holly Rowlinson. I hope it inspired you as much as it inspired me. If a setback has derailed your dreams, Holly's journey will remind you just how powerful it is to keep showing up. Holly's first attempt at running a marathon ended unexpectedly when she collapsed from heat stroke during the Brighton Marathon in April 2024. It was physically and emotionally challenging, and she had to confront the difficult reality of letting go of her expectations and grieving a lost dream. But with time, reflection, and the compassionate support of those around her, especially the incredible team at St John Ambulance, Holly found the strength to turn disappointment into determination. She made a promise to herself and others she would come back stronger, not just for herself, but for everyone who lifted her up in her lowest moment. Fueled by gratitude, Holly trained for and completed the London Marathon, raising over £2,000 for St John Ambulance. This time, it wasn't about personal bests or medals. It was about finishing what she started and shining a light on the unsung heroes who are there when things don't go to plan. The key takeaways from this episode include: embrace the unexpected. Life doesn't always go to plan, and that's often where growth begins. Process your emotions. Grieving a lost opportunity is part of building resilience. Remember your why. A meaningful purpose can carry you through the hardest times. Community is everything. Support often comes from the most unexpected places. Holly's story is a testament to community, gratitude, and the strength created from having a meaningful why. With this clarity and determination, Holly focused beyond the finish line. Reframing failure, she chose not to run for time, but for something greater. Holly chose purpose over pace. One of the most powerful moments in her story is her openness in sharing the crushing disappointment she felt after not finishing her first marathon in Brighton. It's that raw honesty, describing the build-up, the training, the anticipation, imagining what crossing the line would feel like, and then having it all, poof, gone away in a moment that she never saw coming. No one expects to be taken from the course in an ambulance. Yet that's precisely what happened. She talks about having to grieve the loss of what she'd been picturing and working so hard towards, and how hard that was to process. The importance of processing and embracing disappointment rather than ignoring or suppressing it is key here. Holly shares openly her feelings of sadness, anger, and frustration after not finishing the first marathon, not brushing past them, but sitting with them. Ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed yourself to fully experience disappointment? What did you learn from it? And how might you use it as a stepping stone for growth rather than it being a dead end? If you've ever set your heart on something, invested weeks or months or even longer in preparation, and then had circumstances completely outside of your control derail your plans, you know that sense of hollowness. We discussed the real work that has to be done in sitting with that disappointment, not dismissing it, but allowing yourself to process it, honour it, and eventually move forwards. It's uncomfortable, undoubtedly, but it's in that discomfort that reflection truly happens. My advice is to acknowledge what you can and cannot control. The weather, your body's unexpected reactions. Sometimes, try as you might, your willpower cannot override the realities of life. That doesn't make your effort any less worthy, nor your goal any less meaningful. But what's especially inspiring is what comes next, the choice to act. Holly didn't wallow in the disappointment, she used it. After sitting with those feelings and through a coaching conversation with me as her mum, she found another thread: gratitude. She recognised the support she'd been given by strangers and the St John ambulance team, and immediately knew what her next step was. Not just I'll do another marathon, but I'll do another one for them, for St John, and I'll run London. Perhaps right now you're wrestling with an outcome that hasn't gone your way. Maybe you didn't get the job, the exam result, or the relationship that you'd hoped for. Perhaps, like Holly, life took a turn due to health or sheer circumstance. This episode invites you to reflect deeply on your response. Can you, like Holly, process the feelings fully, not try to positive think your way past them, but really sit with the loss? After that, can you ask yourself, what is still in my control? What can I do with what I have from where I am? Who helped me? And could I somehow give back or pay that forward? Because when Holly reframed her disappointment and set her sights on the next marathon, her motivation was transformed. Completing the London Marathon was no longer just about the medal or the finish line, or her own sense of achievement. It was about gratitude, about shining a light on the unsung heroes who are behind the scenes, and about carrying the love and support she received forward into action. So if you're reflecting on your own disappointment, apply reflection with action to achieve these outcomes. 1. Acknowledge and process the disappointment. Allow yourself time and space to truly feel what you need to feel. Journal about it or talk it through with someone you trust. And don't rush this part. 2. List what was and wasn't controllable. Draw 2 columns in your notebook. On one side, note what was in your control. On the other, what wasn't. Be brutally honest and forgive yourself for what you couldn't change. 3. Identify those who supported you. Make a note of the people or even strangers who supported you, lifted you, or simply showed kindness. What would it look like to pay that forward, perhaps by volunteering or supporting a cause that matters to you? 4. Set a purposeful next step. Instead of chasing exactly the original goal, could you find a deeper reason for your actions? How might you use this setback to fuel something even more meaningful, whether that's for yourself, your community, or a cause close to your heart? Holly's story is a living reminder that your why can evolve. Often it grows stronger through setbacks. Purpose is not a static thing you create once and for all. It evolves through reflection with action, and sometimes when things haven't gone to plan. So what's next for you? How could you use your own story not just to shape your future, but to bring a bit more light, gratitude, or purpose into the world? As Holly says, if you have a drive and have something that means enough to you, that's enough. If you have the willpower, you will. Go gently, but go forwards. Never underestimate the power of reflection to reveal your next purposeful action. Often your why is shaped most profoundly during your greatest challenges. Consider in your own life how you could turn a personal setback into something that benefits both yourself and others. What cause or value could shape your next steps when the initial plan does not work out? When you face what you cannot control and choose to act with intention nonetheless, you align your actions with your truest values. That's where you find your growth, for you, just as Holly did. Next up is episode 461, Human Flourishing in All Seasons of Life, with Christian Ray Flores. Christian Ray shares his remarkable journey from refugee to international pop star to purpose-driven high-performance coach. In this inspiring conversation, he explores the themes of resilience, anti-fragility, and legacy. Offering powerful insights into personal growth and transformation, he unpacks the importance of self-awareness, the fuel of pure motivation, and love as a catalyst for lasting change. Through compelling stories and practical strategies, he shows how to reframe adversity into opportunity and highlights the profound impact of serving others on the path to true human flourishing in all seasons of life. As you reflect on this episode, you may find yourself resonating with the powerful themes that thread through this journey. Resilience born from adversity, the transformative power of life's transitions, and the pursuit of human flourishing. Christian Ray's story, from a childhood marked by displacement to becoming a performer and coach, offers a rich canvas for personal reflection and meaningful action. One compelling thread is Flourishing Through Seasons of Change, which centres on the natural progression of life's roles, from student to practitioner to master to sage. Perhaps right now you're in one of those transitional spaces or sensing one on the horizon. Christian Ray speaks candidly about the discomfort and ambiguity that accompany such liminal phases. Between seasons, people get really stuck. The next step is almost like in a fog. These uncertain moments can be disorienting, stirring fear or a sense of inadequacy as we shed a familiar identity. Yet Christian Ray reframes these moments not as crises, but as chrysalis experiences, evidence of growth and becoming. Again, this is the invitation to embrace the liminal. Instead of rushing to resolve discomfort, allow yourself to dwell in it. Carve out time this week, perhaps 30 minutes even, to journal or reflect. What are you leaving behind? What might this next chapter hold, even if it's not fully clear? Let yourself acknowledge the anxiety that you're feeling and see if you can also make space for curiosity and anticipation. Consider 3 new possibilities this phase might offer for growth, service, or expression. Mixed into this is the idea of turning suffering into strength, rooted in Christian Ray's concept of anti-fragility. He challenges us to reinterpret our suffering, not to minimize it, but to reclaim it. How do you go from a victim to a victor, he asks. It's really in the interpretation of the event. Being anti-fragile means not just surviving adversity, but growing stronger because of it. Just as muscles grow under resistance, so too does character, if we process our challenges constructively. To practice this, reframe a challenge. Identify a recent difficulty, personal or professional, and ask yourself, what lesson or strength could emerge from this? What gold might this lead contain if you choose to work with it rather than resist it? Write down one small action you can take this week that moves you from victimhood to agency, whether it's shifting your mindset, seeking support, or developing a new skill. Finally, consider the idea of purifying your fuel. Christian Ray speaks about motivations, how early in his journey he sometimes ran on ego, fear, or a need for validation. These polluted fuels can drive performance, but often at the cost of peace or purpose. Over time, he transitioned to running on love, a deep desire to see others flourish, to serve, to collaborate meaningfully. This week, choose your why. Reflect on what's motivating you right now. Is it comparison, resentment, or fear? How might you shift toward a more sustainable fuel? Curiosity, generosity, or joy in creating impact? Pick one relationship or project and intentionally lead with love or service. Notice how it affects your energy and engagement. As you move through your own seasons, sometimes eagerly, sometimes reluctantly, remember you have both the capacity and the agency to flourish. Embrace uncertainty, reframe adversity, clarify your purpose. Let your next chapter be one of intentional transformation, because insight alone isn't enough. This is reflection with action. Let's now turn our attention to episode 462, Journey and Adventure Within, with Harriet Bratt. International speaker and trainer Harriet Bratt reveals her inspiring evolution from being silenced by self-doubt to creating real impact through confidence and clarity. She discusses the value of genuine self-expression, ongoing personal development, and staying focused amidst everyday distractions. She also shares insights into her healing journey, transformative routines, and deep commitment to helping others find their voice and live intentionally. Whether you're facing inner struggles or simply craving greater purpose, Harriet's story invites you to explore your own journey and adventure within. As you sit with this conversation, you may find yourself drawn to certain threads that feel especially relevant to where you are on your journey. Harriet's story powerfully illuminates 2 interconnected themes: the role of self-awareness in unlocking authentic living and the necessity of patience in personal growth. These aren't abstract concepts, they're daily practices that guide you toward meaningful, sustainable transformation. Embracing self-awareness for authentic living. One of the most resonant insights from Harriet's journey is that real transformation begins with an honest journey within. She shares openly about her past, being bullied, silencing her voice, and wearing the outwardly cheerful mask of happy Harriet, while privately grappling with self-doubt and disconnection. Her turning point didn't come from a single dramatic event, but through steady, conscious self-inquiry. Self-awareness, as both Harriet and I highlight, is not innate. It's nurtured. It's grown. It requires curiosity, reflection, and the courage to ask brave questions. You don't need a crisis to justify a desire for depth or purpose. Even a quiet feeling of misalignment is enough reason to pause and reconnect with who you are beneath the surface. Practicing patience and presence. Alongside this deepening self-awareness comes another essential truth. Growth takes time. Harriet reminds us that transformation rarely happens in straight lines or overnight successes. Even after years of inner work, she still experiences moments of doubt and old habits resurface. Yet it's in these very moments that the practice of presence becomes powerful. She describes how she learned to pause in the face of emotion, what she calls the power of the pause. By creating a small gap between stimulus and response, she began to rewrite her internal narrative, one intentional choice at a time. True growth, she reminds us, is less about dramatic breakthroughs and more about small, consistent acts of alignment. This is how you turn reflection into action, because the insights only become transformative when reflection is paired with action. Here are a few small but powerful practices you can integrate into your own life. Initiate a daily 5-minute reflection. Set aside a few minutes each morning or evening to check in with yourself and ask, how am I really feeling beneath the surface? Or what parts of me need attention today? You don't need immediate answers. The practice itself builds the muscle of awareness. Practice the power of the pause. When strong emotions arise, pause before reacting. Ask, what do I truly need right now? Or is this response aligned with who I want to be and with my purpose? These moments of pause can open the door to wiser, more compassionate choices and subsequent actions that you take. Revisit your why. Journal about your motivations. Why do you do what you do? What would you do if you weren't trying to impress or please others? Let your why evolve as you do and allow it to guide your decisions and actions. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge progress even when it feels minor. Harriet's story reminds us that embodiment takes time. Be kind to yourself, especially on days when growth feels invisible. Realign with your values. Take stock of your daily habits, relationships, and commitments. Ask, am I living in alignment with what matters most to me? Harriet's decision to leave a business partnership that no longer fit her values illustrates the strength that clarity can provide. Build a reflective routine. Consider adopting practices like journaling, meditation, inspirational reading, or visualization, even briefly each day. These habits create a steady foundation for intentional growth. Ultimately, Harriet's story is a reminder that personal evolution is not a destination, but a process, a continual unfolding. Transformation happens in quiet moments of reflection, in courageous pauses, and in the small steps we choose to take each day. Be patient with yourself, honour where you are, and commit to walking forward with curiosity and intention. As Harriet says, grow till we go. Your voice matters. Your authenticity is needed, and your journey, step by step, is already a powerful act of becoming. Moving on to the penultimate episode is 463, In Pursuit of Better with Pete Cooper. What does it truly mean to be a better human? How can you pursue better without falling into the perfectionism trap? Business Book Awards 2025 finalist Pete Cooper challenges the myth of perfection and advocates for the ongoing pursuit of better. Discover Pete's 3 strands of fulfilment, align your behaviours with your core values, and explore the importance of diversity, intention, and authentic leadership. Whether you're seeking clarity in your life's direction or aiming to make a genuine difference in your career, Pete shares powerful practical strategies to help you grow with purpose. Begin your journey of conscious transformation today. Be in pursuit of better. Pete's conversation offers a deeply impactful exploration of fulfillment, values, and the pursuit of meaningful progress. At its core lies a simple but profound idea. Strive for better, not best. Rather than chasing perfection, often a mirage that leads to burnout or inertia, Pete champions continuous, sustainable improvement. His message is clear. Best can feel like a finish line. Better keeps you moving forward. Pete's Better Human Blueprint is grounded in the belief that genuine growth stems from doing just a little bit better than yesterday. This approach is not about settling or lowering standards. It's about releasing the unrealistic pressure to achieve flawless results and instead focusing on intentional, achievable progress. For anyone overwhelmed by the constant influx of self-help advice, perfectionist tendencies, or social media comparisons, this mindset is freeing. As Pete explains, better is quite a fulfilling objective. It invites you to enjoy the process and make growth a lifestyle rather than a destination. My proposed action following reflection for you this week is to choose one area of your life, be it work, health, or relationships, and replace the goal of perfection with the intention to simply do better. Each evening, jot down one thing you improved or handled more mindfully than before, no matter how small. The 3 strands of fulfillment. This sits at the heart of Pete's philosophy in his framework. Meaningful foundations, knowing your purpose, values, and embracing authenticity and emotional awareness. Meaningful alignment, ensuring that your daily actions and decisions reflect your internal truths. Meaningful connections, building genuine relationships grounded in inclusion, belonging, and shared growth. Fulfillment isn't a one-time achievement. It's a result of consistently living in alignment with what truly matters. If you've ever felt off balance, uninspired, or stuck, it might be a signal that your values and behaviours are out of sync. Identify 2 or 3 of your core values. Are your choices, personal or professional, aligned with these values? Choose one small act that brings you closer into alignment, such as having an honest conversation, setting a boundary, or extending inclusion in a meaningful way. Pete doesn't just talk about change, he embodies it. Writing the Better Human Blueprint wasn't about adding more noise to the self-development world. It was a conscious effort to distill evidence-based wisdom into practical human strategies. He bridges the gap between knowing and doing, which is where real transformation happens. When you feel overwhelmed by advice or uncertain where to begin, pause. Instead of absorbing more input, distill what's most relevant to you right now and act on that. Small, consistent steps beat overthinking every time. Pete's wisdom spans beyond individual growth to broader themes that affect how we live, lead, and connect. He talks about the arrival fallacy in the hedonic treadmill and be wary of chasing the next goal for fulfillment. Often the joy is in the journey itself. He spoke about the cost of values, saying a value is not a value until it costs you something. Living your values might require hard choices, but that's what makes them real. He talks about DE&I as elevation, not accommodation. Equity doesn't lower the bar, it raises it by unlocking everyone's full potential in safe, inclusive spaces. Purpose-driven decision-making. Having clarity on your identity and your values acts as a compass in major life decisions. Mentorship and influence. Pete credits giants like Brené Brown, Simon Sinek, and Adam Grant for shaping his thinking. His story underscores the importance of community and mentorship in personal evolution. He talks about emotional awareness and language precision. Emotions are signals, not flaws, and the language we use internally and externally shapes how we show up in the world. So I propose a challenge for you this week to identify one area where you'll prioritise better over best, one behaviour that can bring you closer into alignment with your core values. Reflect on these small shifts and observe the ripple effect in your energy, your relationships, and your sense of fulfillment. Pete's message is an invitation to step off the treadmill of performance and step into a life of purpose, intentionality, and growth. Progress is not about doing everything, it's about doing what matters, a little more intentionally each day. Celebrate that, reflect often, and most of all, act afterwards. Better isn't a destination, it's a way of being. My final focus today goes to episode 464, Purposeful Consolidation with Elliot Kay. What if chasing more was keeping you from what truly matters? Elliot shares his powerful journey of stepping back from multiple ventures to realign with purpose. With unfiltered honesty, he explores how choosing consolidation over constant hustle brought clarity, joy, and deeper presence in both life and work. Elliot redefines success not by income but by impact, connection, and legacy. From being more present as a father to transforming the speaking industry, his story offers inspiration for anyone at a crossroads. Perhaps it's your turn to embrace a purposeful consolidation. It's easy to often equate success with business and breadth, but Elliot offers a countercultural yet deeply resonant invitation to pull in, consolidate, and return to what truly matters. In this conversation, Elliot shares his journey from managing multiple brands and responsibilities to embracing a singular focus, professionally and personally. He's letting go to realign. And at the heart of Elliot's shift was a moment of self-realization, an epiphany triggered by a simple headache after a training session. Despite financial success, the joy had quietly faded from work that once defined him. It was then he knew it was time to let go, not just of a role, but of an outdated version of himself. This wasn't a failure, but an act of deep respect for his evolving values. We often carry roles, responsibilities, and stories from earlier seasons of life, long after they've stopped serving us. Elliot described it as dropping 4 suitcases to carry just one. That image speaks to the peace and freedom that can emerge when we choose intentional simplicity over habitual accumulation. What are you still doing out of habit, obligation, or fear? What's taking space in your life without bringing joy or purpose in return? Elliot redefined success through presence, not by income or accolades, but how he shows up for his children and his wife. A successful day is no longer one filled with outputs, but one marked by moments of connection, patience, and presence. Whether it's choosing to read with his son or simply responding with joy instead of irritation, these quiet choices form the true legacy he's committed to living now. How do you measure success? Is it aligned with what genuinely matters most? To begin this process of consolidation in your own life, try this reflective practice. Identify your suitcases. List your current roles, responsibilities, and major commitments. Assess the joy. Ask yourself which one energizes you and which one feels heavy, stale, or joyless. Choose one to release or transform. Pick one to let go, reduce, or approach differently. Replace it with presence. Fill that space not with more tasks, but with something meaningful, time with loved ones, rest, creativity, or solitude. It's the courage to evolve. This story is a reminder that transitions are not setbacks, they're signs of growth, moving from centre stage to a facilitator role, from quantity to quality, from old identity to present truth. Elliot demonstrates that meaningful leadership often begins with authentic self-awareness. As you reflect, consider this. Where in your life might you be spreading yourself too thin? What could shift if you allowed yourself to consolidate, realign, and live from a deeper centre of purpose? There are several key themes that come from this conversation. Singular focus over diversification, choosing one clear path or purpose over scattered efforts. Joy as a guiding metric, reclaiming the belly joy that once inspired action. Presence as success, valuing connection, patience, and quality of relationships over traditional productivity. Courage to let go, shedding outdated roles and embracing evolution. Midlife reflection, using transition points to reassess values and priorities. Creating space for growth, intentionally removing clutter, emotional or physical, to allow new possibilities. Legacy and contribution, living your legacy daily through small, consistent, value-driven actions. Facilitative leadership, moving from being the centre of attention to uplifting others. Emotional and physical cues, paying attention to signs that it's time for change. And values-driven decision-making, making aligned choices that reflect your present self, not past expectations. You're allowed to evolve, you're allowed to let go, and most importantly, you're allowed to choose joy and presence over pressure and performance. Like Elliot, consider what suitcase you're ready to put down and what space that might create for something more deeply aligned. Let this be your week to begin. Reflect, choose, act, and above all, make space for what matters most. This episode's over, but let's keep the conversation going. How has this episode impacted you? Share your insights, takeaways, and reflections with actions on social media, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback creates powerful ripple effects, helping others to discover its value. Want to dive deeper into purpose? Check the show notes for links on how to work with me, where to buy my new book, Focus on Why, Create a Purposeful Way of Life, available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook, and where to sign up for Friday Focus, my weekly newsletter. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.